This is Wide Angle with Ashok Vyas. Namaskar and welcome to Wide Angle. We are fortunate to have a couple whose memoirs are ready for us to cherish in the form of this book called From Bangalore to Brooklyn, A Look at Life, People and Arts, a collection of essays by K.K. Ramamurthy ji. I have the pleasure of welcoming Ramamurthy ji as well as Kamala ji to ITV studio. Namaste.
Namaste. Thank you very much.
So as they say that ladies first, and we'll follow that tradition. So Kamala ji, your name finds many references in the book. Even the first chapter also is something related to the experience that both of you shared. Tell me, when the idea that the memoir should be published, how did you react? What was your gut feeling about the book?
Well, he has been writing for a few years and putting his experiences into words. And we would just send the email to, relatives and family and all. And they would all love his stories. So then we decided, why not put it into a book? First he had a blog and he used to get very good reviews regarding that. And then we decided to do the book. So last winter when we went to India, we decided to publish the book.
Wonderful. So there was encouragement from all the sources. And interesting part about the book is that the foreword of the book is written by Kiran, who is Ramamurthy's son, and the book is published by Select Books, which was founded way back by his father, and later on the flag of Select Books is carried forward by his brother. So there is all this family collection. But when you read his experiences, it makes you feel that it's about the big family wherein all are inclusive. Going to you now, when you felt that a book form for all these independent experiences is needed?
Well, what happened was, like Kamala said, my initial thought was my kids, my sons. Of course, now they are grown up. But, at one time, I was telling them about the banyan tree. And they had no idea what a banyan tree was. So I had to explain to them. And then I thought, oh my God, I could tell everything I know about banyan tree, including the idea of Ashoka putting up trees that, and the travelers dropping by at the banyan tree on their way to Kashi or whatever. So when I started talking, they were listening, but their attention span also was not that long, when you describe a story at an event. Then I thought, why not I write like a crisp, well-crafted essay and send it to them? I did, and they just loved it. Now, once I did that, then I said, there is so much I could convey to them. I could tell them about my parents, about my upbringing in Bangalore when we were young, how we came to America, our early experiences. And there is so much to talk about and tell them. And we could do a good job of telling those stories.
And let me interrupt you and share my response. He has definitely done a good job, and these are the crisp, and some of the stories are like very interesting read, starting from the first chapter. Now, Kamala ji, tell me, Bangalore, Paris, New York, something happened in the Paris. Tell me what was that?
Paris, actually, I just got married and, traveling outside the country for the first time in my life. And that big visa, they were giving in a big envelope. And then we were carrying that and we went to see the usual, Eiffel Tower and all that stuff. And then when we went to the airport, we had it in the taxi back seat up there. And when we got off with all the excitement, the suitcases and everything, we totally forgot about that. And the story describes all our experience, what happened in that story.
So that experience you have to read in this book. So we are just promoting the book also indirectly or directly. But there was a point of time when both of you were worried because without the visa, which you had forgotten in the taxi, it was not possible for you to come to America. And then you mentioned that for 15 minutes, and she was hopeful that somehow somebody will bring it. What were you thinking in those 15 minutes? You must have thought about that period many times in your life, I believe.
Well, at that moment, I was thinking about more practical things. What do I do? Do I go to U.S. consulate? Will I be able to get in touch with the Indian embassy or U.S. consulate in Bombay? And will they be able to make connection? You know, those days there were no computers and all that kind of thing. So all the paperwork were all in actual paper with copies. So it would have taken a very long time. So only thing is that the thinking was going so fast, and somehow we thought we can't be let down. You know, something will happen. Somehow things will reappear. Something will happen.
So interestingly, something definitely happened, and a guy who you would not expect would look back in the taxi what the passengers have left, would come back all the way, taking the trouble of all the traffic and everything. But here he was. So, Kamalaji, what was the reaction when you saw this man? Did you feel that your prayers were answered?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I was standing there with the luggage, and I see this guy actually holding it up. And it had a very colorful Himapi's calendar cover. So I could see it from far, all those colors like that. And I couldn't believe my eyes. And I was just so happy. And I said, oh my God, thank God, I got it back.
So we always thank God, and also we take lessons, but then we forget those lessons. I think this sequence, which is common for most of us, is also a part of Ramamurthy ji, and of course there is another lesson where you feel that this man has really not changed, though it has a sad side to it to begin with. But let's talk a little bit about the chapter which you have titled "The Day Emotions Prevailed Over Bureaucracy."
Exactly. Well, that was a time when we got the news that my mother had passed on. And it was very, very important for us, for me, to go back to India immediately, the same day. And we could have done it in the sense that we got the airline tickets. But the problem was my passport had expired, and I had to get the passport renewed. And of course we rushed to Manhattan to get it renewed, and we couldn't get it done because I needed the citizenship paper in order to prove my citizenship. Then I realized that I had misplaced it, I couldn't find it, and I couldn't figure out what happened. And somehow within that day I had to miraculously have that duplicate citizenship paper materialize. I had no idea how I was going to do that, and I never really expected it would happen. But I guess miracles do happen.
So when this word miracle is being used, how that miracle unfolded, the persistent efforts of this gentleman who was definitely very keen to be back home in India. This is a kind of tug-of-war like situation, emotional tug-of-war for many immigrants who are here. Half of their heart is in India, half of their life is here. And in such circumstances, emotions and bureaucracy, when they are confronting each other, tell me, Kamalaji, what was your reaction to this whole situation wherein one American official actually became empathetic to his situation and went out of his way to help. So what does that tell you about the system as well as the lesson from this?
Well, more than the system, there are some empathetic persons, in the world who will try to help you out in time of need. That's what the realization was. And of course, the lesson is never lose anything and never misplace and make sure. And the kids make fun of us too after reading the book. Oh, now we know where we got it.
So that requires a lot of courage to say those things about which you know that people, including your kids, are going to make fun of you. So though it would be a little far-fetched, but when you remember my experiments with Truth by Mahatma Gandhi, he did mention many events of his life which one would try to hide. So here also I would commend Ramamurthy ji has not tried to hide a lot. But of course, there are things which he could not touch in one book. Hopefully, there will be another book, and we'll talk more about what is there in this book right after this break. This is Wide Angle with Ashok Vyas. My guest today is K.K. Ramamurthy ji, who is professionally an engineer and has worked with one company from the day one when he started working in America, and that was in early 70s, 71?
Yeah, I joined in 1970.
1970. And so till today, which is 42 plus years almost, he's with the same company. And the company happens to be well-known. Joseph Falco is the principal. And this is
Falco Construction is the name of the company.
Wonderful. And you mentioned about Joseph Falco in your book. There's a whole chapter dedicated to him.
Yes.
Tell me what have been most important aspect of his personality that influenced you.
Falco, obviously is an Italian individual, and the family is Italian. And he himself did not have any great formal academic background, but he was a genius in terms of his ability to lead the company, his ability to create and invent in terms of the equipment and better ways of doing. Anything a company or a person, an individual could do, he somehow found a way of doing it better and more efficiently and quicker. That was his genius. And he had also tremendous drive. And because of his values in life, which coincided with our own values in life, Indian family, putting it on top of everything else, we became very intimate. And he kind of became like a father figure to me. And that remained all my association with him until he passed away about 7 years ago.
So, someone who plays a positive role in our lives is definitely important, and as he mentioned about his drive and the shared cultural values. Talking about father, if you are one of the 6, 7, 8 child, then sometimes you don't develop the kind of bond which is easier in a smaller group of family members, perhaps. But again, circumstances vary, and once Ramamurthy ji came to America and there was an occasion that father visited, I think there was more bonding as individuals knowing each other.
Exactly.
So you mentioned that in a chapter. Tell me what you found more exciting and interesting about your father in terms of his interest in films and books.
Well, when he came to America in 75, at that time, we didn't have any VCRs or DVD or any of those things. So he had a great passion for literature, great passion for movies and the art and so on. And even though I was grown up already, still how it is in our families. I barely had a one-on-one serious conversation with my father until he came to America. Here, it was a whole different scene. And he loved to watch old classic movies of Greta Garbo and Anna Karenina and Charlie Chaplin and so on. And the only way he could do that was to get up at 2 o'clock in the night and go to Channel 13 and watch it. And my mother would say, why do you do that? You lose sleep and all. You know, you won't. He would say, if I don't watch it here now, I will never be able to do it in this Janma. So I gotta watch it. I gotta watch it. So he would do that. And then next day morning, he would talk about it. And we kind of bonded at that level, which I never was able to do when I was in Bangalore with him.
Now, Kamala, talking about the additional challenges which become part of immigrant family, it is kind of different to have the same kind of communication and understanding here. There are additional challenges of the place. And when he was busy professionally and you were pursuing your passion for singing, how was it to find a balance between these different pulls of demands on time from his profession and your?
Basically, actually, when the kids were born and when they were growing up, I took time off from work and all that. I was not working and taking care of the 3 boys, which is not easy. And music also I was doing occasionally. And his support and the kids' help was also a lot of it there.
So which is the song that he loves most when you sing? Is it Carnatic classical, semi-classical?
He likes everything. He loves the old Telugu songs and some.
Hum just few lines for us, maybe a line or two. Comes from a film.
Sure. This one is actually not from a film. It's a private song.
Which one are you going to sing?
Durana Naraja.
Okay.
That was his favorite. Durana Naraju Kiraidonu Iroju Narat Yerala Palo Durana Naraju Kiraidonu.
Wow, wonderful. We have to have her separately for an additional show. From music we go to culture and religion. Many times devotion also finds support from music and vice versa. Talking about various social and cultural organizations that you have been involved with here in America, Hindu Temple finds reference in one chapter of your book. Then you also mentioned about Kannada Kuta. So first, Kamala, tell me, how important do you feel these organizations are for finding a sense of fulfillment for immigrants?
These organizations are very important to keep the cultural roots for the children especially. And when the kids were young, we used to go to Kannada Kuta, every month or so whenever they have functions. And they all used to learn little songs on Ganesha and, for Ganesha festival and all that they used to sing. So it opens them up to our culture and the temple, all these things. So it is very, very important to have these things.
And I just to continue on the same thread, you mentioned about your father's interest in Channel 13 and movies, and I'm just thinking during those days, with a similar idea of keeping Indians connected to culture, ITV came into being in the form of Vision of Asia. So do you have some memories of those days when you were finding some Indian glimpses on Vision of Asia?
Well, Vision of Asia was a pioneer. I think that was the first and the only Indian TV for a very long time. And at that time they were not only doing the films, but they were also conducting the kind of interviews that you are doing with the literary people and especially people, classical musicians. There were not that many who used to come. But that was really like a window to the Indian culture for many of the immigrants. So it really fulfilled a very important role in the cultural development of the Indian community.
Talking about the general feeling in terms of husband and wife playing a very, very interesting blame game. So if somebody forgets something, I told you, that kind of thing. But in your book, I feel that both of you have sailed through harmoniously, or he didn't mention about that particular side. Kamala, what would you say?
We both, really, our kids keep asking, do you ever argue? And we say, well, we do sometimes, but try to, understand each other's point of view, and then try to see from their point of view. That helps. And
does it require special training? Because I find such couples are very rare to come by.
I don't think it requires training. It just needs, all you need is love.
And how one discovers what he just said, all you need is love. It's something you are blessed with, or there are few fine tunings that one can add?
You do have to work towards it. As I said, trying to understand each other's points of view, and that part is important. And basically, when the other person is, emotionally something, whatever, so you maybe come down, or the same thing has to happen from the other side too. So I guess that's how you give and you take.
So these are very important tips coming from experienced couple and who have faced some challenging moments in a harmonious way, as comes to us from this book, which is basically, if I call it like a silent love story somewhere, hidden along with all the events from Bangalore to Brooklyn. And before I let you go, from both of you, do's and don'ts for new immigrants, and if new immigrant couples are landing here, what would be your advice in terms of what would help them sustain a sense of fulfillment?
I would say that the new immigrants who come here, they got to find a good balance between assimilation and keeping the cultural roots of our homeland. You can't be completely closeted in your own lifestyle and completely not assimilating at all. But both are required. You certainly need the solid roots into our culture. Once you have it, thank God, that's going to stay with you like money in the bank or like insurance, and that's going to keep you going. And you'll be a good citizen, good family man, good husband, good son, good everything.
Lots of good wishes for you and for your book both.
Thank you very much, and thanks for having us.
This is Ashok Vyas, thanking all of you for being with us.
This is Wide Angle with Ashok Vyas.